Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Disco Elysium with me, Bring It Down. First thing we're going to do is take a look at Clausia's passport.
This passport, issued by the Sovereign Republic of Oranje, is issued to a black-haired woman called Katarzyna Alazie.
Clausia's hidden documents from the MT boy.
Lieutenant looks at it in your hands. Look at the photo.
It's Clausia, with short black hair and glasses. She looks boyish, younger somehow. An old photo, before life came and did what it does.
What was this doing in the phasmid's nest?
Maybe our man, Mr. Dross, took it from Clausia's, or whatever her name was. Hiding place, or...
Yeah, I think the phasmid took it.
like a magpie? What a coincidence. Then it would also have collected the other objects, which would be highly unusual.
He looks around.
I can see how the helmet could wash up on the island. And the scope. Maybe Mr. Dross lost it. But to seek this out would be very unusual behavior for an arthropod.
Would it? Maybe it was simply curious.
Perhaps it was curious, like an octopus.
An octopus belongs to a very different class. It's not even an insect, it's a mollusk. But yes, I see your point.
It says Katarzyna Alazie.
She said it would be for Anouk Meyer-Smith. Anouk Meyer-Smith.
He opens his notes.
Katarzyna Alazie was supposed to be her real name, where Clausia comes from. Remember? God damn it. I told you she kept lying to you. She's probably lying to someone else right now, in another city.
Katarzyna Alazie was supposed to be her real name. She lied to us.
Yes, somehow she managed to lie to us. One more time. In a way, she's still lying to us right now.
Lieutenant smiles. What's her real name then?
I don't know. But it's not Katarzyna Alazie, or Clausia, or Anouk Meyer-Smith. We didn't even scratch the surface with her, detective. Perhaps it's better that we didn't arrest her. Who knows what hell she'd be raising in my district by now.
Put the passport away.
What is it? What do you want from me? I can't go.
The old man looks around, confused.
Something is very wrong with him now.
Sir, how could you not see the phasmid?
See.
He stares at the reeds and falls silent.
Mr. Dross?
The man does not respond. He keeps staring, black eyes glazed over and bulging from their sockets, his gap-toothed mouth shaking with fear and longing.
Touch his shoulder gently.
The plastic cape feels coarse. A light shiver passes the man. Other than that, no reaction. He feels small and frail.
He's going into some kind of psychomotor immobility. The good news is, this solves our transportation problem, doesn't it, Mr. Dross?
Lieutenant inspects him gently.
The trembling mouth appears to sigh.
Between this and the broken tire he's used for a boat, I think it's safe to leave him here, while we go and get help. It will need to be medical first, I'm afraid.
What has happened to this man?
Old age and shock.
He looks at him, then you. I think it's the phasmid.
Yes, the arrest and the appearance of the phasmid, the combined stress. But you think it's something more than that, don't you?
He looks at you.
There's much more. Remember what it said when it spoke? Quite a few things about that health check you did on him make sense now.
He couldn't see it, Kim. It's just the reeds for him.
That could be part of the shock. But you're right, something is off here. Mr. Dross.
He touches the man's shoulder.
No response.
Maybe this is how the phasmid has stayed hidden all these years.
Then how did we see it? Oh, you mean, whatever does this, does it over time? Teenagers, kids, drunks, sightings are brief, and hence not credible. But anyone who spends a long time with it.
He thinks. Yes, you forget it's there.
Mr. Dross, have you ever seen a stick insect pretending to be the reeds?
Lieutenant inspects the man.
The
The old man stutters.
The doctors will have to look at this. I hope your station has better medical personnel than 57. This is A little advanced for a nurse.
Before, when I evaluated his state, he seemed strangely animated.
He was energetic and articulate. After all these years alone, with little hygiene or medication, I would expect worse.
He nods. Perhaps this animation is induced by something in the phasmid.
It does not seem to be animated now it's left. Honestly, I'm ready to believe anything at this point. Maybe it is psychoactive.
He looks to the sea.
I mean, why not? It's 3 meters tall.
He takes off his glasses and cleans them. When he puts them back on, he's still staring at the sea. Could it be there's something hormonal in his relationship with, to the phasmid, not with it?
You mean pheromonal?
He seemed a little off for a man his age. Randy.
The scope, knowing of her bruises, his disposition toward Miss Orania? I see what you mean.
He nods. I talked to the phasmid. It said it's destroying him.
You should be more careful, detective. Are you sure it wasn't having an effect on you?
Maybe. Anyway, it's only trying to remain unseen. Degradation is a side effect.
A valid hunch. Long-term exposure to something like that could be neurodegenerative. Also, please be careful when approaching unknown species in the future, detective.
He's been here for a long time. Who knows how much of it in its company.
He did seem distressed when it finally came to arresting him, like he didn't want to leave this place, and the insect maybe.
He looks at his notebook.
I have absolutely forgotten to take notes. I hope I remember all of this. This will be one hell of a report. Thank God we have the photo.
He shakes his head in disbelief.
No one would believe you without it.
We found some things in the phasmid's nest, Mr. Dross.
He stares into the reeds. Your words don't stir anything in him. Perhaps you should.
Show him the ceramic helmet.
Nothing. Just dull staring. Not even rage left, wherever he is.
If Kuno kicked it into the sea, as he said he did, the ebb would put it back here. This makes sense. Mr. Dross could have picked it up. Or the phasmid even. If it did, this is incredible.
Oh, that's right, it's Kuno that kicked the helmet, not that little girl. Little girl's the one that had the gloves and put him in her sandcastle. Show him the Orangese passport.
No reaction. His breathing is slow, and he appears very old all of a sudden. Around 80.
Did you take this passport and other papers from a boy on the coast?
The spirit.
He blinks and continues to stare at the reeds.
He hears us. The spirit?
No reply. He's gone again.
Try something else? We got him back for a moment.
Show him the detached scope.
I lost.
He turns his eyes to it. You lost it, Mr. Dross?
He turns his eyes to the reeds again, as he's done so many times. Beige and white stripes.
He lost the scope. Then it somehow made its way over there. With the help of a magpie phasmid.
Lieutenant observes the lens sparkle in your hand.
This sight is a T9, Mr. Dross. Was it attached to the rifle when you made the shot?
Silence. Not even a sigh. You've gotten all you will out of this poor being.
I'm going to let you rest now, Mr. Dross.
The plastic cape flaps around his face in a gust of wind. His back is slouched and his mouth open. The strength has all gone out of him. Just frail old bones in a sack of tracksuit trousers and a windbreaker.
Hang tight.
We should think about getting back to the mainland. To get help. He'll be safe here. If we don't take too long.
Alright, well, let's head back. Should probably take the dinghy so he can't make his great escape. I think he's a little too old to be swimming across. Oh, what is this? Oh, that's the bed. He's probably a little too old to go swimming in the ocean. Especially as cold as it is, he probably wouldn't make it. Also, it's past 2 a.m. It's 2:03. That's never happened before. Time always freezes at 2 a.m.
ICM? This feels familiar somehow.
Kim, what is the ICM?
Insulindian Citizens Militia. It's the official name of the Communards Army, the black and white army of the Revolution.
Sounds an awful lot like.
RCM. It sounds like RCM, Revolutionary Citizens Militia.
It does.
Why?
The RCM may descend from the ICM.
May?
It's impossible to say. It was chaos after the war. The name was good for getting people to join us. Revachol West was mostly workers and criminals.
He looks toward the darkened doorway.
Nice political thoughts rush through your neocortex. A mediocre athlete would pant from dragging around his body on a busted crutch. But not you. You're thinking about politics, with blood dripping down your thigh.
ICM sounds like ICP. Very close to the International Collaboration Police. Nice and normal that way.
That's just a coincidence, officer. The Co-Mail was founded in 32.
He bows to inspect the barrel. What barrel are we looking at? I think this one here. I see a star right there. So a white star. Point to the star on the label.
No, an upside-down star.
He looks at it.
With its horns in the sky, the symbol of the commune.
Are those speck stars too?
No, that's the uninhabited archipelago.
A DeLorean-era symbol of Insulinda, known as the face in the sea.
Looks old. What's it still doing here?
After 44 years? That's not nearly enough to hide what happened here, Lieutenant Gefreiter.
He thinks.
One of these barrels was still leaking fuel, as you saw. The city is full of things like this. Old bullets, guns, fuel.
Oh, I missed that on the way here.
The skiff is swaying on the waves by the dock.
Let's return to the mainland.
Let's. We are done here.
He says, adjusting his glasses, he looks out over the water.
The skiff rocks gently under your weight as you get in. The ride back is uneventful and quiet. But for the sound of conversation on the water, there is someone inland waiting for you. You reach the jetty and climb out of the skiff.
Where's Lillian?
Look what the tide brought in.
Says the man without sunglasses. Suddenly, his expression changes, and he tilts his head.
I want to call you a teapot, but I'm honestly kind of impressed. No idea where you got all that gear, but there's no doubt in my mind that some bad people are looking for it. Also, you look like a fucking idiot.
Whatever this is, it is completely unimportant compared to what you've just seen. This is the man with sunglasses from the Whirling in Rags. But where are his sunglasses?
Wait, you're the man with sunglasses.
That's right. And you're some kind of murder machine.
Forget about all this. There's a giant...
We're not forgetting about anything. Look at you.
He points at you with both hands. The armor? No one else seems bothered by it.
Oh, really? They don't seem bothered by it? That's because you're a cop in an exoskeleton.
Oh, that explains it.
Yes, that has always explained it.
This is not the first time he's seen you all decked out in Waka.
Vic, calm down.
Who are you people?
Hello, I'm Trent Heilerstam. I believe we've met on several occasions.
Yeah, this is the guy that was next to the mural with his son.
I'm your goddamn partner, Jean-Vic Quemar, and this is your special task force. Or what's left of it.
He says, gesturing toward his companions.
Special Consultant Trent Heidelstam, Patrol Officer Judith Minot.
Hi.
We've come to scrape what's left of you off the pavement.
Lieutenant Kim Kisuragi, Precinct 57. We've just come from the island, where our investigation led us.
He points to the sea fort.
The scene is making even him feel as though he has to justify your actions.
We might need your help with something later.
He adds, suddenly regaining his confidence.
As if he recalled that he's in fact a decorated police lieutenant and not a naughty boy.
But this is clearly a departmental matter, so I'm going to leave you to discuss it among yourselves.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant.
It's good to meet you, Lieutenant Kitsuhagi.
She says warmly, flashing the lieutenant the tiniest of smiles.
Letting the lieutenant know he shouldn't feel embarrassed over the shitstorm that's about to befall you.
What is this about?
Ari, we want to help you. Trant, I believe this is where you come in?
I don't quite know what I'm doing here. I was asked to participate as an expert. I think I need to manage your expectations a little. I'm at best an enthusiast in cognitive science.
He takes a step back.
My background is in something else entirely. I engage in neurology on a merely theoretical level. In fact, I should probably get going.
He makes air quotes.
No, Trant. It's too late. You're part of this shit now. What have you got to say for yourself, shit kid?
He turns to you.
What does he have to say for himself? He left you to catch the bullets. Shit, kid. What an interesting moniker.
What's a crap kid?
You. Shit kid, that's you.
Maybe you've deserved it.
How did you know I was here?
The cafeteria manager you fucked over told us where you went.
I saved his establishment, and still he betrays me.
Strange. He didn't mention that. In fact, the establishment didn't look saved at all. There was a giant aerograffito in front of the building. It was on fire.
Yeah, I lit it on fire. It was a poetic gesture.
I knew it. Didn't I tell you, Trant? I told you it was our shit kid.
The line is from Lu Jiatun's Mirova 82, isn't it? About girl-child communism, the titular returning character to ghost the apparition of... Good choice, Harry.
He looks around, and noticing the impatience of his companions, stops himself.
He is correct. It was the Seraillese poet Lu Jiatun who, in the 50s of the last century, composed her.
Don't encourage him, Trant.
Okay.
You aren't the man with sunglasses at all. You're not even blonde.
Guilty as charged. I heard you lost your mind and your memory. I wanted to see if it was true.
He exchanges a look with the special consultant.
And it was. Good work, Harry. You're insane now. There's one less person for me and everyone else to rely on.
He was too sarcastic for you to realize who he was.
Actually, I suspected something was off.
Did you? Or did you literally not recognize my face? We've been partners for how long, Harry? Don't answer that. You don't remember.
He adjusts his tie.
Judging by the familiarity you feel toward him, 2 years minimum? Or maybe a short but close stint on the task force?
You never told me you're not the horse-faced woman. Point at her.
Lieutenant, my name is not horse-faced woman. It's Judith Minot. I was assigned to your unit 2 months ago. I thought we were friends.
She says with a heavy sigh. Patrol Officer Minot, glad to make the acquaintance. Let's put the past behind us.
Right, sir.
Her tone is suddenly very cold. So Trent Heidelstamm turns out to be Special Consultant Trent Heidelstamm.
Yes, I'm Trant Heidelstamm. I never said I wasn't Trant Heidelstamm.
Wait, what was up with the kid then?
Mikhail? Mikhail is my son.
Oh yeah, what's up all the interesting history? Spying on me?
No, I was just interested in the Feld building and the Martinez beachhead. And Mikhail wanted to see Martinez. It was a coincidence.
Him being there with his son, it was not a coincidence. It's difficult to see, but he was worried about you. And also interested in the Feld building.
So what are you special consulting here?
What indeed? I was asked to share my take on some of the more obscure theories developed in Königstein in the 30s, like partial psychotraumatic amnesia, group personality theory.
He looks at the dilapidated shacks, then you.
He's here to see if you're insane. He's smart. Let's move on.
Duped again. No one's who they say they are.
Duped? Hey, here's a brilliant idea. Don't be a morbid drunk, and you won't be duped so easily.
Gardener? Scab leader? This? Turn to the lieutenant. Tell me at least you are who you said you were.
Yes, I'm still Kinkisolagi, still a lieutenant from Precinct 57.
Didn't include Claudia in that little list. She's also not who she said she was. Who mentioned a task force?
Yeah.
Or you did.
Major Crimes Unit, under Lieutenant Dubois and Vicomar. Ring any bells?
Refresh my memory. Who else is in this?
Refresh your memory? It's a goddamn Major Crimes Unit. There's you, me, Jude, Trent fucking Heidelstam, and Guillaume Bevy.
He stares at you.
I'm technically just a civilian advisor.
Fuck you. You're part of this shit show.
Yeah, first, who's Guillaume Bevy?
Oh, that's an interesting story, actually. Guillaume Bevy is a police reporter who joined our team. He was really good. Then he left, because he lost faith in your ability to lead the unit.
He's not smiling.
Other people have left too. Good, smart people. People we won't get back. Only me and this really patient patrol officer are still here. And Trent, because I'm forcing him to stay.
Is this Guillaume Bevy blonde and partial to sunglasses?
Is this Guillaume Bevy blonde with sunglasses? Like you were.
See? There! He's getting it. I was impersonating him. Look at me, I'm G Baby. It was going to be funny. But then, you really did have brain damage. So, not so much anymore.
He wags his finger at you.
He sincerely thought it was going to be amusing. For both of you.
Okay, so what does the unit do?
Do? It's a major crimes unit. We clear the desk of cases so Precinct 41 doesn't look like the worst station in town. We're shit tier now, Harry. Because of you.
The 41st isn't...
He trails off, not wishing to finish the sentence. Where have you been all this time? There was a mercenary tribunal.
God damn it, Harry.
He shifts his weight, crosses his arms, looks you in the eye.
You told us to fuck off. You said we are cramping your style. You're detective god. Fuck everything. All will burn. Detect or die.
Wait, so let me face a squad of trained killers alone, just to teach me a lesson.
It wasn't like that.
Fuck you, Harry. We didn't know there was gonna be a tribunal, did we?
Why didn't you detect or die then?
Oh, you think it was cool? You saying that? Aesthetic somehow? You were crying when we got here. Breaking things. You said we were going into the abyss. None of us wanted to see the abyss, so we fucked off. Like you told us to.
He sighs. None of this is ringing any bells.
The bells aren't ringing because you have brain damage. Trent, this is where you come in. How bad is it?
He turns to the blonde.
Well, he doesn't have visible tremors, he talks without slurring, he can drive a boat, he's standing, reasoning. All good signs, but complete retrograde amnesia, episodic and semantic.
Meaning, you forgot both who you are and the definitions of money, Isola, Pell, and so on.
As displayed in the station call, our interactions with him, and I don't want to be a snitch, but also mine with him before when Harry did not seem to know who I was. It's all very interesting.
He makes air quotes.
Interesting?
Yes, interesting. I have my theories, but I would like to hear Harry's thoughts first. Harry, what do you think happened to you? Neurologically, psychologically, and why not socioeconomically?
He turns to you. Wait, socioeconomically? You think I'm so poor I lost my memory?
Not when you phrase it like that. But I don't think critical theory... I know everyone thinks this is far-fetched pink academia, but still, I don't think it should be off the table here.
What? He lost his memory because of capitalism?
No, not like that. I'm not talking Vrede for school here. But Harry, I asked you, what do you think happened?
I think 5 is a good answer. 1 is also a good answer, but I also think that they're connected. Something so sad happened to me that I couldn't be me anymore. It was a defense mechanism.
Psychotraumatic amnesia? Trent? I can go for that. Shit kid is a broken man. Always has been. Who isn't? I know I am. But you know what?
He turns to the special consultant.
I keep my shit together. Also, I know a person can't wipe their own mind, however traumatic it gets. That doesn't happen. You're lying, or insane, or both.
He turns back to you.
But Detective Vigmer, he has blanked out before.
She interjects. I have.
Yes, a couple of times. After some of the more serious benders. One was after the two drunks case, the other when we looked into that mural.
She pauses, remembering.
So you don't remember not remembering. Beautiful. The two cases in your ledger, the unsolvable case and the New World mural, those were recent. Those cases were hard on you.
Interesting. So at first he dipped his toes into it, prepared. That's where he would have gotten the idea, yes. Practice. And then he used alcohol to get there, so to speak.
What do you mean?
Well, here's my theory. What if this is an absolutely normal reaction to the world we're living in? What if this is not a significant anomaly at all? Something to be explained, approached as a defect? Look at the sensory input here.
He gestures toward the scenery.
Look at the ruins, the neon. Listen to the radio, the multitudes, the people. Live here for 40 years. As a police detective, he's like a magnetic reader on the world tape, to borrow a known metaphor. Harry's been pushed flat against it. Total input. Hardwired to the free market. He just needed for its end.
He nods confidently.
Okay, Trump, thank you. That's absolutely meaningless. I'm glad we brought you. Will he or will he not be able to work in the major crimes unit? Is he a cretin now? I want to know that.
He's not a cretin, and he is able to do work. If not in his previous leadership role, then as a line detective.
I'm ready to lead again.
No one even mentioned that. I misphrased my question. It should have been, is he able to put his clothes on and use the potty? Or do we need to get him on the disability pension?
He looks at you, then at Trant.
They can keep that pension. You're rock solid. You can put your clothes on hard.
What now?
Now, nothing. Now we're just going to stand here.
Really?
No, now we discuss that. What the fuck did you do to our motor carriage? Why is it there, Harry?
He points to the water. Tequila sunset. I also jumped the canal, by the way.
Ha ha ha. Ho ho ho. Tequila sunset? Jump the canal. So funny, Harry. Thank you for fucking me.
He grabs his stomach in humorless laughter.
Thank you for destroying 45,000 real of police property that's coming out of my payslip. You know that, right? You're gonna get fired. And I'm gonna pay till I die. It doesn't matter. Your badge, Harry. Show me your badge.
He exhales to calm his breathing. Wait, my badge?
The thing that tells people you're a police officer.
I got my badge right here. Show it to them.
In a rush to demonstrate your badge, your eager fingers can't sustain a grip on the smooth plastic, and the badge slips out of your hand.
Catch it. Really?
You juggle the badge for a second, unsuccessfully, and it lands on the ground, some 2 meters away. Ouch! You strained your elbow trying to catch that stupid thing. Damn it.
He found it. He found it, Jean. It's his badge.
Patrol officer picks it up and gives it back to you, slippery and cold.
And your gun?
The man stares at you, unimpressed.
As if having your badge and gun are natural states, not achievements. What is it with all these material objects?
My gun is right here. Show him the Villiers 9mm.
Phew, he has it. And he didn't drop it. You're drunk like a bum, Harry. Put that thing away before you kill someone.
He wipes his brow in mock relief. I'm not drunk. I haven't started drinking again.
So you forgot to drink? I don't buy it. Why do you smell like a corpse then?
He's wounded. It's been a long week, and he's handled an actual corpse.
He looks at you. Wait, it may be because of the pheromone.
Detective, please. Don't start talking about your pheromone again. This is serious. If you don't,
She doesn't finish the sentence.
Then you'll be fired. This is a hearing. Toughen up.
Yeah, I've handled an actual corpse. Alright, let's do this one. Yeah, it's been a bit of a week. I'm sorry I smell bad.
A bit of a week? You're drunk, and you let the suspect escape, a certain classier, because you were too drunk to assess a flight risk.
I haven't had a drink the entire game. He squints.
we've read the report, Sari. Lieutenant Kitsuragis. We know.
Not taking her in was the right thing to do. She gave a vital clue that led us to the island.
Oh well, if she was nice. I'm not even gonna get into the other suspect, who also escaped. Yeah, Ruby something.
He rubs his face in frustration.
Or the fact that you're Everard Claire's little peony now, doing I don't know what for him. That's small-time stuff. That's nothing. That's a humorous anecdote. Compared to the 7 people who were gunned down, the streets are literally red with blood, Harry. It was fucking mass murder.
And where were you at?
He did everything he could. We did everything we could. The company hired and vetted mercenaries. Lieutenant Dubois got between them and the locals.
The lieutenant interrupts him. Well, thank you, Kim.
He did so at considerable risk to his own life. He was shot and survived only because of his armor. We stopped an execution, not a negotiation. The loss of life was minimal compared to what it could have been.
Yeah, it was a massacre. We got wiped. Where the hell were you?
Don't make this harder for yourself.
He says in a lowered voice.
Thank you for the input, Lieutenant Kitsuragi. I didn't mean to suggest you didn't handle the situation.
He brushes a strand of hair out of his eye and coughs.
You spent the week with him on this case. What is your take?
On the case?
On Lieutenant Geoffrey Dubois.
Well, the drinking, the gun losing, also losing the badge. That's all true. Although he has not been drinking on the job this week.
He pulls up his collar.
See?
1 week.
Then there's the self-flagellation issue. He likes to apologize, profusely, making it sound like he's guilty of at least first-degree murder. It's not a good communication strategy for an officer. It's just strange, especially in light of his political views. Detective Dubois is, as you may know, a true blue moralist, a man of the center, not prone to political outbursts, which is commendable, but also at odds with his behavior. And then there's the motor carriage in the sea, something I was not present for. But despite all this, he is a great detective, one of the best I have seen, in fact.
He breathes in sharply.
He can talk human beings into telling him everything, and he doesn't stop. In all the time I've spent with him, he has not once stopped pursuing leads, however far-fetched and tangential. He is tireless, madly driven. Well, except that one time when he stopped to sing karaoke, which, by the way, I have to disagree with you, Mr. Vicmar, was a valiant effort. He really sang his heart out.
Okay, he did something.
Other than that one time, he has tirelessly worked on the case, and he solved it. We have a confession, a murder weapon, and the perpetrator, locked on the island right now, awaiting transportation. He apprehended a revolutionary brigade who stayed hidden for 50 years, ever since the revolution, who's probably committed other murders over those years. Oh, and he also discovered a new species.
He pauses.
A new species?
A colossal stick insect. It was on the island, camouflaged as the reeds. It unfolded from the reeds. I think we may be dealing with the Insulindian phasmid.
He takes out the photo of the phasmid and shows it to the officers across the yard. The wind blows, flapping the glossy rectangle in his hand.
You better not let go.
You hear gasps beneath the howling of the wind.
As you can see, it's about 3 meters tall. In fact, we think it may be the largest land invertebrate ever discovered.
So, as you can see, I'm a pretty okay detective.
Fucking hell is that? Is this somehow connected to the case?
He ignores you, still staring at the phasmid.
Detective?
He turns to you. Yes. I believe the pheromone it emits may be responsible for the killer's mental degradation.
The old man was not aware of the phasmid's presence. Exhibiting a strange, atypical dementia, he fell into a stupor after its appearance. He became near catatonic.
So it is connected.
I must say, this is absolutely extraordinary. I don't even have words for it.
He points to the photo.
Yes, it really does make it hard to fight out the drunk.
His tired eyes follow the photo as the lieutenant puts it away.
This is a very, very sad man who has just seen something that's made him forget his sadness. Now you make your case. Now is the time. Now or never.
Do I go through all of these? We'll start here. The killer, Lilianovich Dross. We have a strong motive for him.
Lilianovich. A revolutionary matronym.
The special consultant raises an eyebrow. Revolutionary matronym.
The custom started in Grad, where they have patronyms. Krasovich, Lasovich, etc. The revolutionaries saw this as a chauvinist atavism, so they used matronyms, derived from the mother's name instead. This man's mother was Lilian. His Lilian's son, Lilianovich. The custom was overturned after the revolution failed, but not before it made it to Revachol.
So, it is what a soldier of the ICM would be called.
Thank you, Trant. Thank you for that piece of cultural theory. You said you have a motive?
He turns to you.
Of course, excuse me, I just thought it was noteworthy.
He wasn't quite sure about the straggler before he heard this detail. It must have convinced him.
He killed the mercenary in an act of jealousy.
Jealousy? I thought this Lilianovich was an old man. To have been hiding for 50 years, 70-something?
A strange psychosexual fixation, aggravated possibly by proximity to the phasmid and its chemicals. He himself gave a political reason, said he had killed an enemy combatant. Also, we have ballistics from the gun, matching the bullet found in the dead mercenary's head, and 2 officers on the scene that Mr. Dross confessed to.
It's a clean win.
Oh, it's way more than that. Way more.
It's more than that. A perfect folding mechanism, like the phasmid.
Perfect folding mechanism. Get over yourself, Harry. I can still smell the booze on the wind.
He rolls his eyes.
God damn it. Doesn't it ever leave? It is there. Like in your bones or something. It will pass. In time.
I also started a nightclub in the church.
What was that? It sounded like you set up a nightclub in the church.
He cups his ear. The wind blows. Yeah, and I discovered a hitherto unexplored anthroponetical phenomenon in there too. A 2mm hole in the world.
That's great. Anthroponaut is a great new career for you. After police officer. I don't care. Go live in the Pale.
4 kids were living in a tent on the ice. They were going to drown when it melted. It's not optimal, but the building was abandoned, so he put them in there. It's okay.
It's not that okay. Get off this subject now.
Also, the phasmid was a female. The reeds are its nest.
Female? What makes you think so?
You had to see it. It had the subdued colors of a female. And the nesting behavior too, I think.
Incredible. Were there eggs in the nest?
Not as far as I could see. There were other things there, though.
He turns to you. It gathered items in its nest. A helmet, a scope, and a passport.
Actually, you know, this would indicate it was a male. This is far from anything in my field, but I think such nests are called bowers. They are for attracting mates.
I still think it was a female.
Of course, as I said, I'm only guessing. I didn't see it. It must be robust if it can move a whole helmet with its limbs.
He pauses, turning something over in his head. I think it reproduces by parthenogenesis.
As in cloning itself? What makes you think so?
Just a hunch.
Well, then it wouldn't matter if it's a male or female. The bower would just be rudimentary behavior from before the parthenogenetic mutation.
That makes sense. Yes.
Very interesting. Such organisms are extremely vulnerable to disease. A single strain of bacteria could wipe out the whole species. We're probably looking at conservation efforts here.
He looks around, quickly assessing the coast. It had mandibles that looked like hair, and it was completely white on the inside.
Yes, but also reed-colored, beige and brown, a little green on the outside. After unfolding from a single stalk, it still retained parts that looked like reed tufts on its limbs.
Incredible. The PR value of this is exceptional. Carve discovers new species. Maybe even discovers the Insulindian phasmid. No, that's too much.
He repeats, turning to Vicmare.
This would really help with some of the problems we've been having.
Absolutely, this is great. This does not say vigilante murderers to me at all. This says science, news, human interest. You know, it's a really good thing you have that photo.
He smiles.
Without it,
He shakes his head.
You're doing good here. Perhaps only for a moment, but still. Quit while you're ahead? Or no?
The previous head of the Dubidoirs union was assassinated by our killer.
This is a conversation for when we are no longer out in the open. In Martinez, where Everard and Edgar Clare have ears everywhere.
Lieutenant lowers his voice, just a little.
And eyes, too. Your return from the island must not have gone unnoticed.
understood, of course.
I would prefer not to partake in anything union-related, for political neutrality.
The consultant, too, has lowered his voice.
This has to be good stuff for him to backpedal out of it at first mention.
There's also a dead man on the boardwalk. A missing person I found.
Yes. Fallen through a gap in the boardwalk. Drunk.
How do you know I found him?
The body was transported to Precinct 41, our morgue. I had Tilbrook and Mullins take care of funeral arrangements and family stuff.
You're not the only cop in the world, Harry. This all comes back to us.
Still, good work with the missing person, Detective.
She says quietly.
It's still a point for you. No denying it.
I also looked into the mystery of the doomed commercial area.
I don't know what a doomed commercial area is.
He shrugs. Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 10. A commercial building where all businesses go bankrupt. I looked into it.
Why? That's not what you were supposed to do here.
There was a fridge we needed and a possible witness. He was just chasing a lead and ended up advising a local shopkeeper. It was okay.
Of course. Call it community outreach, right?
She turns to Vicmare.
Dodged a bullet there. For a moment, it seemed like you were just wasting time.
I confiscated drugs from Kuno's dad.
Who's Kuno?
You don't want to know.
You're right, Lieutenant. I don't. You snorted the drugs. I know you did. It's alright. I mean, at this point, anything is but the drink.
He turns to you. Well, actually, I gave them to Kim. So what do you say? Want to take this hot crap back? Point to yourself.
I don't want to, but you discovered a new species and solved the murder.
He shrugs.
So I have to. Jude?
Anything that ends the trial is okay with me.
A quick nod.
Agreed. The public relations potential of this is too valuable to let go.
Okay. We have vehicles in the square, and the perpetrator needs to be taken into custody. Let's go.
He sighs.
Now you will finally get to know who you are.
Wait, I have a few questions before we go. About who I am.
The man looks westward, impatiently, jingling his car keys in his pocket.
Who am I?
Who are you? You're a gym teacher, Harry.
What?
Well, obviously you're not a gym teacher anymore,
But before.
Before you were a cop, you were a gym teacher in Coron. It's getting really cold outside. Should we maybe...
She looks around. That does explain a lot.
Harry, it explains everything. The running around, the jumping, the bicep girth. Your inexplicable facial hair.
A collection of fallen sportswear I've amassed.
Your love of retro-style dance music. How you're able to perform a 360-degree spin kick.
Also, this guy. Just everything about this guy. God, even this javelin throwing freak hair.
Oh god. Contact Mike.
Of course. Contact Mike.
He's been on about Mike again? I hate that guy.
The detective shakes his head. Contact Mike is a reprise of the most inspiring basic sporting principle of open competition. A 5,000 to 1 rank outsider.
Oh, you don't say. Does he also vault an impassable gulf of finance and privilege?
He arches an eyebrow.
It is getting cold out.
She looks around at the dilapidated fishing village. When was this? When was I a gym teacher?
In your 20s or late 20s. You've really let yourself go since then.
He looks you over. You said in Quran. I was a gym teacher there.
Yes, you taught gym in Courant. I believe that's the term. Taught gym at a high school. You were a high school gym teacher.
The smell of sweat and glue. The worn floorboards. Kuro is just east of Jamrod. It was a short walk every morning to the baseball field or the sports building.
High school. Harry, your goings-on with Kuno, Andre, Assel, the whole thing on the ice. That's why you are so juvie.
His smirk suggests barely contained laughter.
Why did I join the RCM then?
The regular. You found some chick. She inspired you to fight the big fight. Be more than you are. All that.
You, every morning, walking from Voyager Road to teach gym. She, leaving for the academy with her spring coat on. The air filled with the smell of smoke and raspberries and incredible hope. An ocean full of hope.
Okay, I see now.
I knew it. I knew no normal human being can run like that. He's an honest-to-God gym teacher.
Why am I like this?
It's not a mystery. Some chick fucked you over. Also, you were drunk.
You really went with it too. Really maximized the damage.
Was her name Dora?
Yeah. Dora Ingelund, I think.
Not Dora Dubois.
Wait, Dora Ingerland.
Something like that. Half Vasan.
Vasa is where beautifully and impossibly blonde people come from.
So we weren't even married.
No one is married anymore. This is Revachol.
When was this?
God, I don't know. 6 years ago? She was way before my time.
He thinks.
6 years and you haven't gotten over it. What the hell is wrong with you?
6 years.
No, it was 6. Like ancient. It's an old man thing. 2 old years equals 1 normal year. That and Dora Ingelund really tore you a new one. A big one.
Who was she?
Incredibly bangable?
No, I meant, what did she do?
She was incredibly fuckable. A beautiful bourgeois woman. Wayfish. Like a Welkin, basically.
Snow Welkin. Blonde Welkin. Heartbreak Welkin. Pain Welkin.
I've only seen a picture, but it's obvious you formed a real spiritual connection with how pretty she was. One you never recuperated from.
Look, the sun is going down. It's time to go home.
The sun has been down for a bit. It's almost 4 a.m. She turns to face the sea.
I think she taught in the Académie des Arts, east of the river. Way east. Hard to say which came first, the middle-class chick or the drink. Egg and the chicken kind of thing. My point is, you need to see a psychiatrist about this shit. Not a psychologist, several degrees harder. Is there something harder than a psychiatrist? A forensic psychiatrist? Go talk to that.
He pauses to think.
In other words, he's heard enough about this.
Okay, am I a dirty cop working for La Puta Madre?
No,
No? Because the suspects seem to think.
you're too unstable to work for a mob boss. You're suicidal, Harry. No mob boss would take you.
I assure you, I wouldn't consult for a corrupt unit.
He would immediately backpedal out of it. I told you it's not that bad.
Precinct 41. What kind of station is it?
Us? We're the bloody murder station. Haven't you heard? We're the bad guys. No one likes us.
That's not true. Jamrock is too big for one precinct. You are just understaffed, and everyone respects the 41st. You have Captain Price.
Thank you, Lieutenant. You're being kind. It is an understaffed station, and the district is too big, which is why we need to...
He tilts his head northward.
Get back to it. We left Torson and McLean to run the Sea Wing. It's not good.
Torson and McLean.
Mac the Torso Torson and Chester McLean. They're not fit to run a wing. Believe me. Things are shaky as it is.
She arches an eyebrow.
They are damn iconic, though. Torson and McLean.
An iconic duo, I take it.
Yeah, not like us. Two clinically depressed old men. Where's the contrast here? We're garbage.
And the Sea Wing is...
God. There are 4 wings, Harry. A, B, C, and D. We're in C. It's made of losers and clock punchers. You and I reconceptualized it as a task force. It was a mistake.
He sighs.
There's also a lot of outside help involved, not only me. Other losers too.
He smiles. And Price is...
Ptolemy Price? He's the son of the old Price, one of the founders of the RCM.
He's one of the most highly regarded men in the force. You're lucky.
Somewhere under the curved roof of a former silk factory, shaped like a ladybird with 2 chimneys, Police Captain Ptolemy Price sits behind a heavy wooden desk. Resident medic Nix Gottlieb pours him coffee. It's silent in the captain's office. They speak of change, the city, the tension on the streets. They speak of the events of April and the blood on the streets in May.
Did we recently shoot up a church by any chance? Point to the church.
So he remembers that. Yes, there may have been a raid on some churches. It wasn't good press.
Shooting up churches never is. I was out of town, to be clear.
What happened? Why did we need to go there?
Our enemies were hiding in a church, to the best of our information. That's it. I'm not talking about this anymore. Your security clearance is shit tier right now. You have to wait for it to go up.
He means it. The RCM and its enemies will not be discussed on this coast.
So I work in the bloody murder station.
Okay, it's not the bloody murder station. It's an old converted silk mill with green desk lamps and coffee corner. A lot of good people work there, hard, every day.
Jamrock is the largest ghetto in Rivershoal. Faubourg, technically, but it's divided into 11 districts. Jamrock only has us.
The press will blow over. Jamrock is lucky to have you, and it's often considered to be the greatest of the districts. You're lucky to have it.
He says in a reassuring tone.
Thank you again, Lieutenant.
The phasmid. I need to tell Lena about this ASAP.
Who is Lena?
She lives at 1113 Tabernacle Road in Jamrock, remember?
A cryptozoologist. She lives in Jamrock, on Tabernacle Road. She told me about this phasmid.
Tabernacle? It's on the way over. Near where you live on Perdition.
She looks at Vicmare.
Fine, if we're gonna drop you off anyway.
She and her husband were conducting the search for the phasmid. It's their discovery, in part. They should know as soon as possible. It would do you good to deliver some positive news for a change.
Lieutenant Kitsuragi, what will you do now?
Well, first I will go back to my station and write the most detailed report anyone has ever seen. It will have to be good to cover all these. Then I will have a serious talk with my captain.
About what?
Detective, we just stopped a small-scale war. Something is happening to Revachol.
He takes a look around, into the deepening shadows of the streets, then pulls up his collar.
I don't know what yet, but it's going to be a hard spring for the RCM. We need to get ready, infiltrate, investigate.
Want to do that at Station 41?
Talk to Captain Price? I'd rather not ruffle the feathers of 2 captains with my doom-mongering.
No, I meant investigate. Come work in Precinct 41.
Work with Price? I'm flattered, but I don't know if I...
A crooked smile quivers on his lips.
This truly came as a surprise to him. Not a bad one, but he's at a loss.
Flattered? You're Lieutenant Kitsuragi. We would be flattered if you even considered.
I would have to tie things up in GRIH first. But, I mean, whatever is coming, Jamrock will be more central to it than the harbor.
Lieutenant turns very serious all of a sudden.
And we also have a huge caseload, Lieutenant. Piles that we need to get back to. Mountains, even.
She says with a smile.
I do like the sound of that.
I got achievement. Recruit Detective Kim Kitsuragi. He returns her smile.
He's really considering it.
I'm ready.
Good.
She looks at you, then Vic Mayer.
Fuck it, let's go. Tron brought his motor carriage. It's a 20-minute drive to Jamrock.
The man points down the street.
Under the night sky, the great district sleeps. A dark chessboard of wooden houses in the rain. 80,000 living souls inside. Fire traps as far as the eye can see. From Main Street to Precinct 41, atop the motorway, to Boogie Street, glowing on the rain-swept horizon. You close your eyes and hear the dogs bark. A lone woman sits by a factory window, dreaming of meteorite strikes. On Rue de Saint-Jérôme, a square bullet slides into a square-shaped chamber. In Old South, a man without eyelids smiles. Spring has come. It's time. Torsen? Yes. McLean? Yes. Heidelstein? No. Vic Mayer? Yes. Dubois? Yes. Really? Nix Gottlieb looks up from the list. I hear he's unstable. You say that like it's a bad thing. Captain Potomny Price gestures with a ballpoint pen. It's dim in the office, and the curtains are drawn. Harry's our man. He'll pull through. When he does, he'll side with the RCM. Understood. Gottlieb returns to the list. Minot, of course.
Wonderful. Then can we please just go back to Jamrock now?
The woman looks north. Well, that was an experience. And I'm glad I got to experience it. I know I'm not going to cover everything that I want to say, my little snippet here at the end, but I do want to give a few thoughts on the game. I think it's fantastic. I guess I'll start with the aesthetics. The artwork and the music was perfect. Granted, I didn't use the copyrighted music. I did turn that off by episode, 2 or 3. So it may have been a slightly different soundtrack than most people would have heard while they played through. But it really added like that psychedelic feel. Like everything really just, it combined well into, I guess, giving you more of an insight into Harry's mind, how it's kind of disjointed and disconnected, and all of his subconscious elements weren't always working together and on the same page. It created a really good atmosphere to the game. Like one of the best I've played in a game, especially a CRPG. I think I mentioned in the very first episode, looking at the main menu. I don't know how loud this is. I don't know if I have to talk super loud or not. But the main menu artwork, like it already pulled me in. And then as we went through the game, the artwork and the music just kept ramping up, and it was really well done. The dialogue, like all the, it's extremely well written game. All the metaphors and everything, I really enjoyed it. All the writing was really profound throughout, and rarely did I feel like something was left lacking. I don't know. It's not often you get a game that has really good writing like this. People often praise Planescape Torment as one of the most well-written games, one of the best stories in gaming. I think this game is better, honestly. It might not be for everybody because there's no combat involved unless you consider punching and kicking. Let me get out of this. It's so loud. Can't skip this. This guy right here. Yeah, the voice actors did a fantastic job. The voice acting in this game definitely brought it all together. Had I read all the dialogue, I don't think that I would have been nearly as pulled into the story as I was with the voice actors. They did a phenomenal job. There's so much to talk about. Trying to collect my thoughts. I didn't think I was going to finish the game. I thought we were going to get at least one more episode out of it. Good job, Virgil Texas. You're one of my favorites. I didn't see Tommy's voice actor. Maybe I missed it. But yeah, this was a fantastic experience. Wouldn't say extremely well-rounded, again, because there was no combat. It was just a very dialogue-heavy, and I think it's pretty linear. I don't know how much the ending will change, because eventually you're going to find the murderer, right? No matter how you play it. I will say that it does feel good to go in naturally and just pick the dialogue choices you would naturally choose. Because while some of them, like the electrochemistry, for instance, seem like more fun, like you would select that knowing that you're picking it to be quirky. Like you have like that meta knowledge. I think just going in and picking what you like, put yourself in his shoes and roll with it. I think it's the best way to do it. Like it feels more natural, more honest. Also, playing through the game is fantastic because you can't really fail the game. Like you fail a check, there's always another way to take care of it. Except for I never did do that follow-up Egghead quest, so do regret that. But nothing I could do about it. It's just how the game panned out. But yeah, not a lot of games are designed that well, where you can fail but still not truly fail. Like there's always like a backup plan or a way to get around the failure. In a lot of games, it's either hey, you fail the check or you don't, and then you continue down whatever quest line anyway. Usually, it just determines whether or not you're gonna fight somebody or you get to talk your way out of a fight. But here it's, there's branching paths. It does all coalesce back, I think, in the end again. Because I think, again, I've only done the one playthrough, but I assume no matter what, you will find the deserter. You will end up on that island. And so there's still that linearity. But you can branch out and find your own path there. I do wonder that if Kim got shot, how that phasmid thing would have panned out. But yeah, back to Planescape Torment. I do like the amnesia. I know it's used a lot in games, like, oh, you don't remember who you are, so you can go about. But it is a really good plot device, having amnesia, because it makes it so that the player can ask questions that the character in-game should already know. And it gives a reason for it, like a reason that makes sense. So there are a lot of parallels to Planescape Torment, which I think is probably the best comparison as far as CRPGs go. We haven't really seen a CRPG like this game. Maybe Age of Decadence to an extent, since you can get through everything without fighting. I wouldn't say Age of Decadence. Definitely Planescape Torment, though. It was a fantastic experience. I can't express how much I enjoyed playing through this game. Every day was a treat. Every little task, every side journey was an experience. Like it was a little adventure, and it was fun. And I like the scope of the game too, because the game hints at all these bigger mysteries. So like in most games, like say this was like a standard fantasy RPG. If we knew about the Pale in another game, the goal of the game would probably be to discover what's causing the Pale and put a stop to it, since it is destroying the world. This game is really small in scope. Like you're just a cop in like this one city in the world. You're not, like what you do here doesn't affect the entire world. I mean, you can make an argument for some of the things that you do, like discovering the phasmid and helping Suna with her research in the church. But everything's just so small scale. Like you're not saving the world, you're not changing the world, you are saving yourself, solving the case, and making your part of the world a little better. You're a cop from a single precinct in a single city in the world. And that's it. Like you're not, defeating a god. You're not, I don't know, saving the souls of all the people in the world or anything like that. You're just doing your job. But you also have like little impacts on people throughout the world, like bringing a child in from the cold, setting up a nightclub, little things like that. I don't know. Supposedly the developers are looking for more people. I think they might have another game in the works. And if that's the case, I really look forward to seeing what else they do, because I think this game was just Happy Elf Total Victory. Was a treat. Again, my thoughts. I didn't expect to beat the game today, so my thoughts aren't in order. And I know I'm not gonna say everything that I want to say about the game. I'm thinking about it a lot as I played through it. It's a game that's constantly in my mind, even when I'm not playing it, which is a testament to the game. But yeah, that's Disco Elysium: The Final Cut. A fantastic experience. Larian Studios. What? How are they involved with this? I have to look into that. Yeah, but I don't know if I can recommend you to play it after you watch me play through it, because again, I think it has that linearity to it. I don't know how much replay value there is unless you just want to have a quirky playthrough or go for the achievements. But I'm happy either way. I don't need to get another playthrough of this game. The one was good, so. But yeah, that's Disco Elysium: The Final Cut. Thanks for joining me on yet another adventure through the city of Revachol with Lieutenant Euphrator, Harry Dubois, and Kim Kitsuragi. Can't forget him. Oh, yeah, I want to mention him too. Another thought. Kim is by far the best companion in any game that I've played. I think it helps that he's also the only companion. Other games like Dragon Age, you have 3 other companions. Most RPGs, you have 5 other companions traveling with you at one time, usually more that you can swap in and out. So it's, they could really focus and hone in on Kim. But he was a fantastically written character. He was competent, he was extraordinarily patient, and I think he held Harry together. Like, he was the glue for Harry throughout this experience. Obviously, if he wasn't in the game, he would have held together anyway, but I think, in the context of the game, Kim was he was Harry's anchor in solving the case. Because, well, he probably wouldn't even known he was a cop except for Klasia telling him, and then, if Kim wasn't there, what would he have done? He wouldn't have had any leads. Man. All the characters, Tommy LaHolme still stands out. Kami Mañana stands out as 2 fantastic characters. Absolutely love talking to those 2 guys. Smoker in the Balcony, another fantastic character. Really stood out to me. But yeah, alright, I am going to call it here. Thank you for joining me on another adventure. Hope to see you guys in the next Let's Play.